In this video, we show the practices that support ongoing changes in student thinking. Occasionally, newly introduced ideas come from readings. It is vital, in fact, that high school students regularly make sense of texts and learn how to improve their abilities to do this over time. Here we show student engagement with real research reports taken from scientific journals.
Because they have to compete for food.
We are going to read some research that people have done about snowshoe hares, and they've used some other kinds of methods besides just tracking, just being able to follow one hare. And so you're going to have a chance to read their research and see how they collected the data and what they found out. All right, so you're going to read in your research articles today about Yukon. Yukon is right here. So if this is Canada and this is Alaska, it's just up north here, Yukon. And then another place they talk about is this lake, which is in the Yukon area. The territory where the snowshoe hares are is this boreal forest, and it went across, kind of across the span of Canada. You're going to read one section of the article. Most of them are one page. Some continue on to the back. And I want you to discuss and be ready to share in as hopefully 20 minutes. What was their research question? What method did they use to collect their data? What the graph shows, and the conclusion that they made. What did they find out?
In this activity, Bethany demonstrates a powerful principle about scaffolding challenging work. She has reduced these authentic research papers to 2 pages each, but has kept the complexity of the main ideas. She has, for example, asked her students to interpret what the original graphs are saying.
Okay, so just go ahead. Why don't you start by explaining what the research was? I need to step a little bit to the side.
Well, they researched about, like, they went out and observed of, like, how often they reproduce and, like, how many there were in an area when they reproduce, like, the population. And, like, right here, the graph, it shows that the non-dotted line, when it was down here, it was like at a really low population, and then it caused them to, like, reproduce a lot of babies.
What is the research question?
I don't know.
What's the conclusion?
That, like, that when there's, like, there's not that many hares, they reproduce a lot.
And there's little what?
Little hares, like, there's not that many, there's few of them.
When the population is few?
Yeah.
When the population is low, then what? When the population is low, then
they reproduce a lot more.
Sorry, so our researchers, they were figuring out how does the mortality rates of adult hares affect the population over the cycle, over time.
So can you explain what mortality is?
And the methods they used were mark and recapture, which is like they mark the number of hares in the population, and then they return them and recapture them like on a daily basis.
And then our graph, it shows that whenever the densities were low, the adult survival rate was higher, and whenever the density was high, the adult survival rates were low.
Adult survival rates decrease when the density is high because they have to compete for food. Also, the lynx probably target bigger and older adult hares to get more food.
Our research question is, how does the reproduction and survival affect the hare population? And so the graph shows that, the researchers tracked the baby bunnies, and they put radio trackers on them and tracked them. And so the bar graph showed the hare density, and the points showed the survival. And so we noticed that as the bars increased, the density, the survival, it went down, but when the density decreases, the survival, it went up.
What's the question?
How does the reproduction and survival affect the hare population?
Or remember, it could be the other way around, so we could say what's the relationship between the hare population and the survival rate of who, Jen? Of what?
Of the baby hair.
Yeah. So that's different than Anthony's group. Anthony's group was talking about survival of adults. Jen's group is talking about survival of the babies. Try and talk to somebody next to you and explain why would it be like this? Why would, when the population is increasing, why are the babies surviving less? What do you think, Lisa?
Because there's competition between the hares. Since there's too many, then maybe the mother won't get enough food, and if she doesn't get enough food, then she can't make any milk for her babies, and that could cause the babies to die.
Okay, so these babies are needing milk from their mother, and so maybe if the mother's milk isn't able to provide them, or if she's not able to make milk because of different things that could be happening to her body, competition, then maybe that's what's causing the babies to survive this.
So the mother uses energy to escape from the lynx, so they would not be able to store the energy for the milk.
Okay, so if the mother doesn't have the right amount of energy for whichever reason, maybe escaping, maybe competition for food, then maybe she doesn't have enough energy to provide the milk to her baby. So they can also
Does food quantity affect the hare population? They were wondering if the food really makes the population decrease, and so they took data over 3 winters, and the red line is the normal population, like the actual data of the food that's already there, and then the blue line is the population, because they gave the hares food, like they actually gave them natural food that they always eat, and then it actually follows the original line. So the conclusion is that the extra natural food given to the hares does not affect the population, and the chemicals in the food that they eat actually causes the hares to not reproduce. Yeah, I'll put that up here. The food doesn't affect the population of hares at all.
Okay.
Yes.
So the natural food they eat, like in their natural habitat, has chemicals that cause them to not reproduce?
Yeah.
Okay, so this part of what they're saying is a little bit of I would like them to explain that part a little bit more. So can you explain that part a little bit more?
So there's there's basically chemicals in the food that they eat that doesn't let them reproduce or something.
All right, so could somebody else from that group also help Cecilia out here? When does the food make these extra chemicals? I think it does. When is the food making those extra chemicals? Does it always have it?
They're getting damaged or something like that.
Okay, yeah, when it's getting damaged or when it's getting eaten too much. So when it gets eaten a lot, it's saying that the quantity of food isn't affecting the hares, but the quality of the food could be causing it stress, which might make it so it can't reproduce.